them off. Thank you. Fill my cup, Lord. I lift it up, Lord. Come and quench this thirsting in my soul. Bread of heaven, feed me till I want no more. Fill my cup, fill it up, and make me whole. Lord, I thank you for this opportunity to reflect on that important light in the life of the church. So as your daughter, as I stand behind this desk, I pray that the words of my mouth and the actions that your congregation will see will be acceptable in your sight, for you are my strength, my redeemer, my beginning, my end, my alpha and my omega. Amen, 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 and amen. Peter said to him, "You will never wash my feet." Jesus answered, "Unless I wash you, you have no share with me." Simon Peter said to him, "Lord, not my feet only, but also my hands and my head." Jesus said to him, "No one who has bathed does not need to wash except for his feet, but is entirely clean. And you are clean, though not all of you." After he had washed his feet, he put on his robe and he returned to his table. I was in several conversations. Let me see if I can turn my mic on here. Is it on? Am I on? Can you all hear me? Let me try again. Is that better? Is that better? No. Well, I'll try to talk louder so you all can hear also. When I came, I got within several conversations about how we do church here. And one of the things that was adamantly said that you do not do foot washing. And I shared with Jane in one of our conversations, because I talked to several people, that this would be the first year that I will not be doing foot washing since I became a pastor. And I thought it was important for me to share with you why I did foot washing in the past. As a new pastor, I was part of a cluster, and there were some seasoned pastors who had been around for a while. When I first became a pastor, I was a local pastor, and I was appointed to the church. I didn't have the things that I have now that come with my name. And I was impressed with the fact that even though they had titles and are known throughout the world, they humbled themselves and washed the parishioners' feet. The first time I washed feet was on 8th Street at Douglas Memorial, and people came in from the street because they had a big sign that said foot washing. And to see these known pastors washing homeless people from off the street, washing their feet. And it made me think about Jesus during that time. See, they mostly wore sandals. So I know that their feet may not have been in the best shape. And they were probably full of dust. And then you know from reading in that time period, a lot of times when they go to people's homes, they had basin by the door so people could wash their feet. And I imagine there may have been something for them to sit on. And I can also imagine that there was something that they had where they could dry their feet. So as I watched as a young pastor, these pastors washing other people's feet, they didn't really care who was in front of them. I think they probably thought like Jesus did about the journey of the people whose feet he was touching. I remember the first time when the group broke up and I was at my former church by myself washing feet, and the people's bodies shaking as I touched their feet. And I remember the little boy who I baptized, and here it is almost a year later, and I'm holding both of his little feet in my hand, and how he looked at me intently as I poured the water over his feet and blessed his journey. So I think about what Jesus did that night, and it says that he was sitting at the table with his friends, and he probably had on his garment because it was an important time in the life of the church that they gathered. But they say he took off his robe, and I think his friends might have been looking at him and wondering, what is he about to do? And I think if I was there, I would think, I know he's not going to do what I think he's going to do. Because foot washing, you either did it yourself or you had servants do it if you were way up in the echelon. But then they saw him, after he went down to his regular clothes, he took a towel, and only brought one towel, but I bought this. And I got this in Morocco. So I was in Africa, which is where they think a lot of this happened. Amen. And I'm sure when he tied the towel around them, and they were probably thinking, I know he's not going to do what I think he's going to do. And then the word said that I'm sure he called his friends over, and when Peter realized what he was going to do, he's like, no, not my feet. Because I can only imagine him thinking about the years that he walked with Jesus and all the important things Jesus did in people's lives. And how can Jesus lower himself to do something lowly like washing their feet? So he objected. And I think if I was there, I probably would have objected too. But Jesus was trying to show them something that night. That we are servants. He is a servant. And he told them, unless I wash your feet, you cannot come with me. In other words, he's saying, unless you humble yourself too, like I'm humbling myself, that we will not meet again. So I can imagine, and you all know I have bad knees. I don't know if he used a pillow, but I'm going to use one. As his friends came up, he may have looked in Bartholomew's face and thought about the people that they fed, and he might have looked at James and know that he was around when he removed some demons from some people's lives, and he may have looked at Andrew and Peter and James and all the sons of Zebedee, and remember that they were not just plain fishermen, they were business owners with their father, and they left their business and followed him. And some talk about the painting. They said, well, maybe it wasn't John the apostle sitting next to Jesus at the table. It may have been Mary Magdalene. And if it was Mary Magdalene and he washed her feet too, then I can only imagine him thinking about how loyal she has been to him over all those years. Then there was Thaddeus and Simon, and of course there was Judas. And we know that Jesus knew what Judas was going to do. He also knew that Peter was going to deny him, but it did not stop him from humbling himself with these men who had traveled with him for 3 years. So I can imagine as he grabbed their feet and he heard the water, but I'm going to do it a little differently because he poured the water in the basin, and as he was pouring, I can imagine he was thinking about the people that they fed and how Lazarus came back to life. And the little girl who they thought was dead, and he asked her to get up, and she did. And the woman with the demons, and how he turned water to wine, and made bread in abundance from 5 loaves. And how the woman at the well got her dignity back just because she had a conversation with Jesus. So as he poured, I can only imagine him thinking about all the things he did with these people who are in front of him, and knew that his time was close. So he asked them to have a seat. And as they came one by one, he washed away the ridicule, that they felt just because they were following Jesus. And he washed away them missing their families because they had to leave them behind on this journey. And he washed away the name calling and the shunning and the many miles and the houses that they went to that people did not accept him because he was not who they thought he should be. He washed away their insecurities. And with each drop of water, life-giving water, with each foot that was on that journey, the hands and feet of Christ. We remember when we do foot washing that Jesus said, unless our feet are washed, and we have no place with him. So even though tonight I am not physically washing your feet, I am symbolically washing your feet, because we have a journey to go on, my sisters and brothers. And I believe that this is an important part of the journey, because Jesus did this right before his life was taken for us. So this is for each one of you. Wash away the hard times that you had this year. Wash away the grief that you're still feeling. Wash away the sadness, the financial struggles, the health struggles, the work struggles. Wash away missing somebody so much is palatable. And take on Christ. Remember him dying for us, him kneeling in front of his friends that represent every one of us here tonight, and all the people who desired to be here but couldn't be. Just think about what he did when he sacrificed his life for us. I'm sure he didn't care that his friends' feet may have smelled, or they may have been dusty, or they may have needed a pedicure. He didn't care about any of that. He wanted to honor them on his journey. And do know that if I was allowed to wash your feet tonight, I wouldn't care if you didn't have a manicure or a pedicure, or what shoes you took off your feet, or even if you had shoes for your feet. I don't care if you had on socks or stockings, or where those feet took you that you may not ever want me to know about. I would not have cared about any of that. I just wanted us to come together, because Christ said, if we can't do this, then we can't come with him. So tonight, my brothers and sisters, we have symbolically washed all of our feet. This is what I wanted to reflect with you tonight. And I don't know if we go forward, I may do this again next year, or I might actually wash your feet. I don't know. But I know I'm going to do some semblance of what he did for us that night, because I know it's important for our journey. Amen.